Number 45 is this 1957-58 signed Topps rookie of Earl Lloyd. And a lot of times when people talk about 57, 58 Topps, you might hear them talk about Bill Russell's rookie or Bob Cousy's rookie. You might even hear them talk about Jack Twyman and Maurice Stokes, and that's an amazing story there. But a lot of people forget about Earl Lloyd. In fact, Earl Lloyd was a part of a group of three black players who really broke into the league in 1950. And those three players are Earl Lloyd, Chuck Cooper, and Nat Clifton, or Sweetwater Clifton as he's called. And Cooper is not in the 57 set, but the other two guys are. And those three players broke into the league in 1950. Cooper was the first African-American that was drafted in the NBA. Clifton was the first that actually signed a contract, but it was Earl Lloyd that saw playing time before the other two. That's when he was on the Washington Capitals, and he entered in a game against the Rochester Royals. So I thought this was a pretty significant card to own. Not only that, but when I first acquired this card, it was not signed. I bought this in a lot of 4 cards from the set, and one of them, actually, I mentioned Twyman earlier. He was one of the other cards in the set. So I bought those 4 cards for $50, and this was probably about 10 years ago. So at that time, that was a lot of money for me to be spending on a little lot of cards there. And I took a chance because I saw that Earl Lloyd had been signing some stuff in the mail, but it wasn't always consistent. So in January of 2013, I sent this card off to Earl Lloyd, and then it seemingly disappeared until 97 days later. This showed up with his signature on it. So I thought this card was lost. At the time, it was about a $30 or $35 card, which, you don't want to make a habit of sending a bunch of those in the mail, especially if you're not sure someone's going to sign. But I took a risk that day. It paid off. It's a nice piece of history for my collection, and it's also a nice way to kind of commemorate the impact that not only he, but also Chuck Cooper and Nat Clifton had on the league. So that is card number 45. Number 44 is this Shaquille O'Neal patch card from 2010-2011, totally certified. And this is the green or the emerald version, which is fitting because this features Shaq in a Celtics uniform. I think he nicknamed himself the Big Shamrock when he was there. But there are a number of things I like about this card. Number one, I just like when popular players are pictured with franchises that we often forget about. And not that the Celtics themselves are forgettable, but Shaq on the Celtics, a lot of people either never even watch that or forget about it completely. But Doc had to rely on him quite a bit because of injuries that year. And Shaq ended up playing, I think, 39 games for the Celtics. And you'll notice here that this Celtics jersey piece has the black numbering on it, which they didn't wear those very often. So I actually went in and looked at the schedule. I looked at the 39 games that he played in. I looked at pictures of all those games. And I think I've narrowed down the games that Shaq played in these black patches maybe to 3 different games. And there's nothing distinct on the pieces that I've seen that would narrow it down any further. Who knows, maybe it was the same jersey in all 3, but I feel like I've narrowed it down a pretty good amount. Either way, very happy to have this pretty unique patch card of Shaq in this jersey. Who knows if Panini still has stuff of this left, but I know they used this in, I think, National Treasures. They used it in Gold Standard. They used it in Totally Certified. So they used it in quite a few spots. But as I mentioned, this is the green version, which is only fitting because he's a Celtic here, and this one is numbered 3 out of 5. So there you have it. That was card number 44. Number 43 is a 2018-2019 Immaculate Soul of the Game shoe relic of Reggie Miller, numbered 23 out of 25. And if you've never thought about it, Soul of the Game is kind of a play on words because they spelled it S-O-L-E, like the sole of a shoe, and that's what you have here. So this is a pretty unique relic. I like shoe relics a lot in general because there's not as many of them out there. And then especially for Reggie Miller, because Reggie Miller signed with Panini somewhere around 2017, and that contract ran out a year or two ago, maybe even a little bit before that. So he was only with them for a few years. So we got some shoe cards in that time frame. We got some patches. We got some jerseys. we got some autographs, but Panini's no longer making Reggie Miller cards. So that window was pretty small, and I was happy to grab one of these pretty early on when it came out. There are a lot of really passionate Reggie Miller collectors out there with Reggie collections that are way better than mine, so it gets very competitive, and I made sure to grab one quick. And you really don't see these anymore, even though they are numbered to 25. So that was card number 43. Number 42 is this 1974-75 Topps card of Wilt Chamberlain, PSA 8, from when he was on the San Diego Conquistadors. Now, some of you might be looking at that and wondering, wait, when was Wilt ever on this particular team? Or maybe some of you are saying, when did this team even exist? So the story goes that in 1973, Wilt was at the end of his Lakers contract, and he signed a 3-year deal with the Conquistadors of the rival league, the ABA, for about $600,000 a year to be their player coach. Now, there were some pretty substantial rumors that other ABA teams helped to pool money to pay his salary in order to get him to jump leagues because they were in competition with one another. Well, guess what? He still owed the Lakers an option year. So they went to court, and the judge ruled that if Wilt played basketball, it had to be for the Lakers. So he could not sign as a player coach like he had originally done. So he did still go to San Diego, but he ended up coaching there. And I use that term loosely because he wasn't really a major presence there. He wasn't really active. He wasn't really a great coaching mind, so to speak. His heart just wasn't in it, and he only lasted for one season. So to me, this card is representative of that whole situation, and I absolutely love it. I talked about this card in episode 110 of the podcast, and I said, at the time I had a raw copy, and I said I'd love to get a nicer version of this. And one of my friends named Kirk was kind enough to send this to me. It was a very generous gift. So it was already a card that I really liked. And then the fact that Kirk gifted me this PSA 8 on top of that makes it all the more meaningful. So that is card number 42. Number 41 is this 2007-2008 Topps Triple Threads Relics Combos Emerald card of Rick Barry, Elgin Baylor, and Larry Bird. And at one point in the last couple years, I read one of Rick Barry's books called Confessions of a Basketball Gypsy. At least I think that's what the title of it is. It's out of print. It's not necessarily easy to find, but Mrs. Wax Museum tracked that down for me for one Christmas. And I read it, and the guy is just an absolute character. And he's just got this insane will to win that makes him do things that other people would think would be irrational. And it was just something that really stuck out to me about him and made him very entertaining and made me want to learn more about him. So I did. And I also ended up reading Elgin Baylor's book. So when I saw this card available, I had to jump on it. It's got a 50 greatest theme on it. I wish that the relic pieces in it were a little bit nicer, but it's still a great looking card. It's a low numbered card, 1 out of 3. That foil surface looks great. Not only that, and even though I kind of complained about the relics a little bit there, this middle relic is pretty cool because Topps had a blue Lakers jersey that they used for Elgin Baylor relics, and the Lakers only wore those blue jerseys from 1960 to 1966. So, it's hard to narrow it down any more than that, but to narrow a player's jersey down to those years, I felt like that was pretty cool to be able to do that. And this is a piece of the trim, so it's not just the blue pieces that a lot of these cards had. So anyway, that is card number 41.